But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
This is my video update on this Sunday afternoon, November the 3rd, coming to you from Limassol, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the big elections. The big elections that are taking place today in Moldova. We have the second round, the runoff in the elections in Moldova, where it looks like the pro EU globalist WF incumbent Maya Sandu will win these elections in Moldova. Not because she's popular, not because Moldovans are happy with the job she has done, but because the Moldovans living outside of Moldova, living in Europe and the EU, they will vote for Sandu. And the reason they're going to vote for Sandu is not because they like Sandu, but because they understand that if Sandu does not win, then the European Union may punish Moldova by messing around with visas and residencies in the EU, and this could affect a lot of Moldovans who are currently working, living, studying in Europe. So they're going to vote for Sandu, and the Moldovans living in Russia, they're going to try and vote for the opposition, but they're going to have a difficult time finding a place to vote. Because what Moldova does in Russia is that they limit the voting stations. They make it very difficult for Moldovans living in Russia to find a place to cast your vote. While in Europe, they have voting locations all over Europe, and they make it very easy for the Moldovans living outside of Moldova to vote. So that's what's going to decide the election. The Moldovan diaspora will probably know the results of the elections in Moldova by the time this video is published. And let's now talk about the other elections, not the big elections happening in Moldova, but the other elections that are going to take place in the United States. And check out this article from Reuters. Democrats have a plan if Trump prematurely declares election victory. Democrats are readying a rapid-fire response to flood social media and the airwaves with calls for calm and patience with vote counting should Donald Trump try to prematurely claim election victory, as he did in 2020, Harris' campaign and party officials told Reuters. I have a bad feeling about the U.S. election, especially if Trump is winning, or if it shows that Trump has won very early on. If Trump is way ahead, I have a bad feeling about what could happen. This article from Reuters makes me a bit uneasy as to what certain forces may be planning. John Bolton, said that if Kamala Harris wins, then Trump is going to refuse to accept the results, and he said that we need to be ready for this outcome. This is coming from Chief Neocon John Bolton. Mustache Man, John Bolton. Let's hope everything is peaceful and smooth on election day, but I don't know. I've got a bad feeling about everything that could possibly go down during the elections if it shows that Trump is winning. Medvedev, he said during an interview with I believe with RT that it doesn't matter. He said it doesn't matter who wins, Harris or Trump. It's going to be difficult for them to wind down their involvement in Project Ukraine. And he said if Trump does win and he decides to keep his promise and to try and pull the U.S. out of Project Ukraine, or to try and negotiate some sort of a settlement in Ukraine, Medvedev said that Trump risks meeting the same fate as JFK. That was a very worrying statement from Medvedev. Anyway, we'll find out what happens next week. Day by day, step by step, we'll find out what happens. And Rogan had Fetterman on his show the other day. Isn't that interesting? Fetterman is able to sit down with Rogan after his stroke and the speaking issues that Fetterman has. I believe he represents Pennsylvania. He was able to sit down with Joe Rogan and do a podcast with Rogan. Kamala Harris, she can't do it, but Fetterman can even do a podcast with Joe Rogan. So in the UK, they have a new conservative party leader. They have elected a new Tory leader to replace the great, very competent Rishi Sunak. And her name is Kemi Badenoch. She is now going to lead the Conservatives. She's putting together her shadow administration, her shadow cabinet. And there are reports saying that she is, what are they calling her? They're calling her far right. That's what they're calling her, far right. I believe she's been at a WEF event, maybe multiple WEF events. I'm not sure about how many events she's attended, but there are photos of her at the WEF. Maybe that says something, maybe not. I believe she was, before going into politics, I believe she was working in the tech field, and then she was working for 2 banks, I think. She's an ex-banker, ex-tech world, ex-banker. That's all I really know about her, to be honest. But she's going to be the new Tory leader. And she said, as she won the vote to lead the Tories, she said, and I quote, "The time has come to tell the truth, to stand up for our principles, to plan for our future, to reset our politics and our thinking, and to give our party and our country the new start that they deserve." So is she going to tell the truth? I don't think so. Because if she tells the truth, then she's going to have to say that the UK, that Sunak and Stammer and the British elite, they really screwed up with Project Ukraine. They bet a lot of the UK's economy and the UK's future on Project Ukraine and defeating Russia, and boy, did they really mess up. So is she ready to admit this failure from the British establishment? I don't think so. Georgia Maloney, she posted on X a message congratulating Kemi. And my feeling, my hunch tells me that not much is going to change in politics in the UK. She's going to be no different than Boris, than Truss, than Sunak, than all of the Tory leaders before her. But we'll wait and we will see. So that was big news coming out of the UK. And did you know that Lloyd Austin Lloyd Austin III, that's right, you didn't know that he was a third. Lloyd Austin III, he wrote his exit letter. That's what he wrote. His exit letter in Foreign Affairs, the U.S. Defense Secretary, with the title, "The Price of Principle is Dwarfed by the Cost of Capitulation in Ukraine. What's at Stake in Kiev's Fight for Freedom?" by Lloyd J. Austin III. His exit letter as he prepares to leave the DC defense scene and go back to his humble beginnings on the board of Lockheed and Raytheon and whatever else. And I'm sure he has a couple of books all ready to go. But yeah, that's Austin talking about Kiev. The price of principle is dwarfed by the cost of capitulation. Quite a title from Lloyd Austin. Let's see what Lloyd Austin is saying in this article, in this opinion piece that he wrote on Foreign Affairs. He says, Ukraine matters to U.S. security for 4 blunt reasons. Putin's war is a direct threat to European security, a clear challenge to our NATO allies, an attack on our shared values, and a frontal assault on the rules-based international order that keeps us all safe. Yet after nearly 1,000 days of war, Putin hasn't achieved a single one of his strategic objectives. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky didn't flee, Kiev didn't fall, and Ukraine didn't fold. Medvedev, in his interview with RT, Medvedev actually tells RT that he's, as a lawyer, he's been trying to find the rules, the handbook, the international rules-based order handbook. He's trying to find out, where are these rules written? Where are these rules? Where are these values? Where is all this stuff written down so Russia can finally understand exactly what these rules are and what is this international rules-based order all about? And Medvedev said he can't find this book. So look, if you guys have the rules-based order international values handbook, if you have a link to that, put it down in the comments down below in this video, and maybe Medvedev, he'll be watching this video and he can follow the link to the book which details the international rules-based order and the values, those precious values. So yeah, the rest of this article, to be quite honest, the rest of this article is pretty much Austin telling the DC establishment to keep on funneling money into Project Ukraine or into the military-industrial complex, the washing machine. Keep that money spinning in the washing machine. Even as I exit, keep that money flowing. That is pretty much the article that he wrote here on Foreign Affairs. He says, so we face a hinge in history. If Ukraine falls under Putin's boot, all of Europe will fall under Putin's shadow. Putin is not just hammering at the norms of the international system built at such a terrible cost by the Allies after World War II. He is shoving us all toward a world where might makes right and where empire trumps sovereignty. So we must continue to squarely face the specter of today's aggressive Russia, backed by other autocrats from North Korea to Iran. Has someone told Austin that he's part of the empire, not Russia? Has someone told Austin that he's part of the empire? And some people may even say that he's a Darth Vader type figure. He's a Darth Vader type figure, and he's actually part of the empire, not Russia. But an interesting statement that he makes in this paragraph, where he says that that the international system, built at such terrible cost by the Allies after World War II, the Allies, they're the only ones that paid a terrible cost after World War II. Not Russia, not the Soviets. It was the Allies that paid a terrible cost. Austin did approve additional forces to be deployed in the Middle East. We got that news yesterday. Pentagon spokesman Patrick Ryder, he said, in keeping with our commitments to the protection of U.S. citizens and forces in the Middle East, the defense of Israel, and de-escalation through deterrence and diplomacy, the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd J. Austin III, ordered the deployment of additional ballistic missile defense destroyers, fighter squadron and tanker aircraft, and several U.S. Air Force B-52 long-range strike bombers to the region. So the U.S. is definitely building up its forces in the Middle East, and they're preparing for Iran's retaliation to Israel's retaliation, which CNN and Axios claim is going to happen before the U.S. election. We wait and we see. B-52s, huh? B-52s to the Middle East, long-range strike bombers. Thank you, USA, for blowing up Nord Stream. Sikorski, the foreign minister of Poland, he is offering Ukraine weapons for credit, weapons on credit. That is what he is offering the Zelensky regime. Ukraine wants weapons from Poland. Sikorski is telling Ukraine, we'll give you those weapons, but on credit. Wow. Wow, on credit. That is what Poland is offering Ukraine. Speaking about aid for Kiev, Sikorski said that Ukraine could buy weapons from Polish factories on credit. The loan could be paid after the country's reconstruction. After the country's reconstruction. And possibly what Poland might do, here's a thought. They'll give the weapons to Ukraine on credit, and if Zelensky isn't good for it, if something goes wrong and Ukraine can't pay Poland back, maybe the collateral is going to be Lviv, the west of Ukraine. I don't know. Just a thought. Just a thought. Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland, he said that the EU should not be dependent on US for security. He said that the European Union, they have the resources, the know-how, the ability to protect themselves. They do not need the United States. Outsourcing of EU security to America is over. That is what Tusk declared. The bloc should not look to the outcome of the US election, but take matters into their own hands, Donald Tusk said. He said it doesn't matter if it's Harris or Trump, the EU should break free of their dependence of the United States. Yeah, right. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, EU. What are you waiting for? Start now. Start yesterday. Doesn't matter if it's Harris or Trump. Tell the United States, we don't need you. Take your money, take your security, take your bases, take your weapons. We don't need them. We're going to look after ourselves. What's the delay, Donald Tusk? Why are you delaying? Tell the U.S. to go away. Harris or Trump, some claim that the future of Europe depends on the American elections, while it depends first and foremost on us, Tusk wrote. But the EU will not only be able to take things into its own hands if it finally grows up and believes in its own strength, the Prime Minister stressed. Whatever the outcome of the US election, the era of geopolitical outsourcing is over for Europe, Tusk insisted. The Financial Times said in an article on Saturday that many Europeans lose sleep at night over the prospect of Donald Trump winning the election and shattering U.S. security guarantees of its allies, expressed in the form of NATO and the nuclear umbrella. Yeah, the Financial Times, Prime Minister Tusk is saying that EU leaders are losing sleep. They're losing sleep at the prospect of Trump winning the elections. Please don't let Trump win. Please don't let Trump win and take away our U.S. money. Please don't let Trump win and take away all the money from the U.S. Take away our money. Please don't let Trump win. Oh boy. So that's Tusk talking a big game, but we all know that the EU has nowhere to turn. They have nowhere to go. They're boxed in. Their economies are in shambles. And they're 1,000% dependent on the U.S. So Trump, if he does win, he has a whole lot of leverage over the European Union. A whole lot of leverage. So what else should we talk about? Syrskyi was meeting, the commander of the Ukraine forces, was meeting with his Czech Republic counterpart. And Syrskyi said in a statement that Ukraine is facing the most powerful Russian offensive since 2022. And that Ukraine needs more resources in order to hold the Russian offensive back. And his Czech counterpart, Czech Republic, they announced a huge escalation, a massive escalation. This is a big escalation. They announced that they have approved, Pavel, the president actually, approved either 60 or 80 citizens of the Czech Republic to go fight for Ukraine. This is a huge escalation. Very much like the North Korean soldiers who are going to Kursk to fight alongside the Russians. It looks like the Czech Republic is going to send soldiers to fight alongside Ukraine, as approved by President Pavel. Huge escalation, man. It's a massive, massive escalation. Wow. So that's the news from Syrskyi. And from the Czech Republic, let's do a couple of clown worlds and wrap up this very chill Sunday afternoon video. And Harrison Ford has come out in support of Kamala Harris. He put out a video, a black and white video, talking about how Kamala Harris has his vote for President of the United States. Harrison Ford. Do you care who Harrison Ford endorses? I don't. I used to be a big fan of Harrison Ford until he decided to go along with the ridiculous with the ridiculous death of Han Solo. Boy, was that bad, the way they killed Han Solo. Why did Harrison Ford agree to that? And then he made a fool of Indiana Jones. Boy, was the last Indiana Jones movie awful. And boy, did Indiana Jones look pathetic. Why did Harrison Ford agree to that? So, used to be a big fan, not a big fan anymore. Couldn't care who Harrison Ford endorses. The Green Party of Europe, the European Greens, this includes Annalena 360 and Robert Habeck, they are calling on Jill Stein to drop out of the race. U.S. elections, European Greens call for Jill Stein to step down. And the reason they want Jill Stein to step down is because of Putin. That's right. Because of Putin. She is doing the bidding of Putin by staying in the race, by preventing Kamala Harris from winning, possibly preventing Kamala Harris from winning, opening the path for Donald Trump. She is on the same side as Putin, even though Jill Stein, she posted an official statement on X about a month ago, maybe like a month and a half ago, where she called Putin a dictator, authoritarian. I believe she even said war criminal, I believe. Still wasn't enough. Still wasn't enough to get the European Greens on your side, was it, Jill Stein? So the European Greens, they have turned on Jill Stein. And the European Greens, the Green Party in Europe, any Green Party in Europe for the most part, they're neolibs, neocons. They're the war party. The Greens have become the war party. And Jill Stein, you made a very bad call with that post a month and a half ago, denouncing Putin and calling him a war criminal and a dictator, because that still didn't win you any support from your European Green comrades. Anyway, they are calling for Jill Stein to step down. Annalena Baerbock, Annalena 360, wants Jill Stein to drop out of the race. And finally, the final clown world is a promotion, not a promotion, a new position for Nuland. Nuland already has a new job as a professor in Columbia, but she has now been appointed to the board of the NED, the National Endowment for Democracy. NED welcomes Victoria Nuland to the board of directors. Yeah, the NED. The NED now has Nuland on the board. They don't go away. The neocons, the neolibs, the establishment, the swamp, they're embedded everywhere. They do not go away. And so now she's going to be on the board of the NED, and she'll be coordinating regime change operations from the side of the NED and not from the side of the Department of State. So that is the news on Nuland. That's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. And go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch. Get 20% off all merch. Use the code October20, October20. And share this video, like this video, subscribe to the channel. And that is me for this Sunday. Take care.